Okay, so, hello. Never done a tutorial in anything before. I'm trying to do one and not having most success, but basically I'm just going to go through with you about how to basically start up on streaming. Because I know a lot of people are just like, oh, I've been thinking about it, oh, I'm not too sure, I don't know what I'm doing, where do I start? And when you first start streaming, I know when it comes to OBS systems, it can be daunting because, of course, you basically have to start everything from scratch. Being a couple of years into this, I have gotten myself into the grips of things, and I kind of know ins and outs of doing things. I'm not a pro. I'm gonna have to say that because, of course, you just have to take my guidance with a pinch of salt. But I know there's a lot of tutorials, I know there's a lot of things that basically it's like, oh, do this, do that, do the other, halfway through like several promotions and like, oh, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell and all of that. And it's just like, just get straight to the point. So basically that's what I'm doing here. That's what I'm doing today. So yeah, so I have Streamlabs OBS in front. I personally use standard OBS. Now, the reason why I've got Streamlabs OBS is because I personally recommend this for anybody that's starting out. It is a good system. As you can see, it's clean, it's pretty straightforward, it's really easy to use. And I do advise, if you are starting with it, start with Streamlabs because it's pretty straightforward. And yeah, it's not overly complex and it's an easy thing to navigate. I personally use OBS because after a good few years, you get to grips with things, you want to go a little bit more advanced. OBS expands on what Streamlabs OBS has, but I would say look at OBS when you feel more confident with things. I had to move everything from Streamlabs OBS to OBS. It's not a hard thing to do. You can do it, but I wouldn't worry about OBS until a later time when you do feel more confident, more proficient with all the technical side of things. I would stick to Streamlabs OBS to begin with. So, as you can see, it is pretty clean. This is what you would come up with when you first log in. And yes, there is literally nothing here because I've just downloaded this and I'm using my bot account to make these little tutorials anyway. So, what you have here, this black screen is what you put together for your stream. So as you can see, there is literally nothing here. We are starting from the very scratch. And this is the stuff that the viewer will see when you go live as well. Or if you want to record, what you would see in terms of your recording. So yeah, so everything goes in here. This is what you would see visually. This is all built up by these two boxes here. So these are the primary boxes that you will focus on to build up your layout. So the scenes are the individual, basically this is everything here. So this is a scene, okay? With your scene, this is, well, it's kind of the whole package of what you would see here. So it's the best way I can describe it anyway. So you have individual scenes for what you would have. So for myself, I have a starting card, which is its own scene. For myself, I am an art streamer, of course. So I have a drawing scene where it's got my webcams. So that is its own scene. I also have a gaming scene for when I play video games. So that is its own scene. Retro gaming, because it's a different layout to standard gaming. That has its own scene. Breaks, end cards, basically everything that I have as part of my stream is its individual scene. So, and you can see all these individual scenes here. This is where your sources are. So what the sources are the individual elements that build up your scene. So basically, if you have your, get me words out, sorry. If you have your visual for your game, that is its own source. Then you have the sound element for it. Your sound element for your voiceover, that is its own source. Your webcam will be its own source. Your of course, if you have what you call a events list, that is its own source. You have tickets, you have bits jars, everything that compromises your layout is a source which goes into a scene. So these two are important for when you first set everything up. Now the mixer is all your sound stuff. That has always been a big gripe for myself personally. I always have audio issues. So that I'll probably cover in a bit more detail in a separate video. And of course your mini feed. So this is where your events happen. So whenever you get a follower, bit donations, subscribers, everything that happens goes into here. So that's more when you go live. So you don't have to worry too much about that unless you're actually live. And of course this little button here, this bit here, is your chat. So this is where you see people who are chatting away to you. You can see how many viewers you have, whether you're online or offline. You can even edit the details of your stream. So you can put your title in here, say, I don't know, hello, first stream. So you got your details about what it is. You can change the game. Or if it's an IRL, you can basically compromise it based on what the words escaping me, excuse me. What category, that was the word I was looking for, what category that your stream is in. So for myself, if I was doing an art stream, I would simply search art and, well, okay, it's not, there it is, that's the one I'll be looking for. So it's just primarily art, and you got makers and crafting, and of course your individual games. So say for example, I've been playing Pokemon Silver. There you go, Pokemon Silver. And there it is. So of course it doesn't really have a thing. Apparently the packaging for Pokemon Silver is in Pokemon Gold, but you get the idea. So basically this is where you find the games that you want to categorize in. And of course with that you also have your tags. So your tags are basically a little bit more of a descriptor. So basically if I was to do art, if I can find where the art one is again, there we go. And then of course I can add tags to it. So say for example, I'm doing art, but I'm doing a bit of painting. You can find unique tags based on what it is that you're specifically doing or different elements that you want to have. So if you were doing a game and it was just, you didn't want anybody backseating, you can have it as a no backseating tag there. So basically, if you have that as part of your tag, nobody can tell you what the heck to do in your game. So yeah, so you can have more than one tag, obviously. I think you're limited by how many tags you can include, but I like to have, of course, with my art, I like to have it that is traditional art, I like to have it that is illustration, that's inking, and of course there is elements of painting, so I'll include all those as individual tags, but that is its own thing. So you don't have to worry about too much about that until you actually, again, go live. So basically that's the base outline of what Streamlabs OBS is in terms of a layout, and yeah, we'll get on to doing the scenes next. Right, so we'll get into building our first scene. So basically we'll focus on this, and this for now. So as you can see, there is already a preset scene here. Thank you Streamlabs OBS for setting that up. But we want to build our own from scratch. So to build from our first scene, what you would have to do is go to the little plus arrow, add a new scene, and of course put a title to the scene. So the way we're going to do this, we're going to just do this from if we were presetting for our own game stream for this, because that's the most common thing that a lot of people do. But of course it can apply for a lot of things as well. So, excuse me, I'm a little out of breath. So we'll go from a baseline game stream, and of course I'll explain a little bit more detail about elements of sources that you can use for other things as well. So for this we will title it as game. So you gotta put a name to it. I would say just be as consistent with it as you can, like just straight to the point. don't overdo it, because at the end of the day, if you overcomplicate things, you're going to lose your scenes, you're not going to know where you are. Just keep it simple, just keep it straightforward. That's the best way. So hit the done button, and we have our first scene all loaded up here. So you jump into the sources, and this is, again, where you put all the elements for your scene. So now we've got two, you can select between each individual scene, but we're going to focus on the game one as an example. So to add a new source to it, again, you go to the plus arrow, you select it, and you'll get this. So this is your list of sources that you can add into it. For this, we're going to focus on the standard stuff for now. So this is all the stuff that are imperative to build in your scene. The widgets are little extras that you can include. They are primarily stream focused. So whether, of course, you stream on Twitch, or if you stream on YouTube or Facebook, these are little extras that you can include in there that are integrated. That's, I mean, with the widgets, give me words out, sorry. With the widgets, it's not as straightforward as just throwing them in there, okay? There are little extras that are included in what you call the Streamlabs Dashboard, which looks a little bit like this. So of course we've got a widget gallery here. There is also a bit for alert box. We'll cover that a bit more in a different video. So we're just going to leave these elements out because these do tend to go in a little bit of detail. So for now we're going to just focus on the standard stuff. Now it does seem a little bit daunting because there's so many different elements, but the good thing about Streamlabs is that it does keep you right. So for this one, for this tutorial, we'll stick with using a display capture. So with a display capture, it is primarily just, of course, focusing on what's on the monitor as a whole. So this is what I usually use for my game streams because it's simple and straightforward. You can just jump in and out of any type of game, depending on, regardless of whatever it is. I also use it for, of course, using it for window captures for like looking at YouTube videos if somebody threw it aside. So we're just gonna have Scrappy's life to send it as a dumb video I found on the internet. It usually happens. But yeah, I usually stick with display captures just for showing stuff. I've got nothing to hide on my desktop, just a nice folder and two, at the moment, two reference photos for Kakapos. So yeah, so display captures tend to be the most common one as well. A lot of people tend to just stick with display captures because it is straightforward. For games, you can use a game capture, so it'll just focus mostly on the game and nothing else in terms of content around everything else. So you can use a game capture, but it will primarily show with the game capture, and it says it works with most modern computer games. So that doesn't include anything that you would integrate from a console that is its own separate capture. It doesn't also include anything from emulators as well. It might have a difficult time picking up emulators. So it's just something just to be cautious of. And if you wanted to do something that was more browser focused, it probably won't pick that up either. Window capture is the opposite to game capture. So that is most modern browsers and programs. So you can integrate it with, of course, say, for example, if you're a digital artist, you can integrate it with Photoshop or Clip Studio Paint. You can, if you're a coder, you can use it with coding programs, stuff like that. Again, though, it would focus on mostly other windows. So if you use more than one service, you probably have to switch the windows out and it can be a bit of a pain in the ass. Hence why I would just stick with display capture for now, just because it's simple, it's straightforward, easy to use. And of course, you do have your video capture. So when I mentioned about consoles, this is the stuff that picks up your capture cards. It also picks up on webcams. So because I am an art streamer, this is where my cameras come from. Basically, you can integrate it straight from the camera itself, but I would recommend if you have anything like the Logitech, say for example, if you're using a face cam, if you have a Logitech service, if you're using the video capture or anything like that, I would say focus the video capture onto that, because then you can alter the settings through that service and then it'll integrate into OBS rather than, of course, having to fiddle around with the settings and just make your life hell. Same with the capture cards. Usually they have their own service program that it can be integrated. So it'll go, of course, from console to capture card to capture software to OBS. Seems a little bit convoluted, but believe me, it's a lot easier to do it that way. And probably the only way to be able to do it, if I'm completely honest, that's a lot straightforward. And again, you can alter the settings as you go along as well. So if you needed to up the quality, you can up it through the capture service. It just helps. It just helps. But for now, we're just going to focus on display capture just as a focal point just for this tutorial. So select display capture. We'll click on add source, and then we're going to give it a little title. So for this, we're just going to stick with game view. We're going to go to view the games, and apologies, it's going to be like an eternal mirror kind of deal here. Click add source, boom. And you'll come up with like a little setting screen. So if you need to make any modifications, regardless of what it is, it'll always come up with this, so you can fiddle on with it and get it all set out right. You get the preview here, as you can see. And of course, you can't actually switch between displays. So if you've got more than one monitor, you can alter it so it can pick up any monitor you like. So of course, this is the main monitor where you can see Streamlabs OBS. But as a little cheeky peek, as behind the scenes, this is what I'm recording from. So this is on my second monitor, which is my lovely, lovely OBS. So this is what I usually use. And as you can see, it is pilfered with loads of content here. So you got all my scenes. Of course, yes, I'm using the game capture at the moment. It's just easier to have to set up a whole new scene for it. This is all of the stuff that I include in here. So of course you've got like all my audio settings are in a folder, which you can actually do. You can file stuff up into their own individual folders if needs be. But of course I have browser sources. I also have my face cam, my mic, basically everything that's included in there that is imperative to this is all in here, and it goes and it's all filed up in here. And as you can see, got more sound settings, and my mic is going a little bit crazy. Got my Twitch stats. That again you don't have to worry about unless you go live mostly. And of course you got your feed here. So this is what it would look like once you actually go live and you actually start getting the events filter in. And of course there is a chat, and but this OBS, the chat is always there. It's always there. Always watching. Always watching. Anyway, so yeah, so once you've got all your settings all set, you can also toggle on the capture for the cursor and stuff, but I like to keep it in there, and you get done. And that is your visual. However, we have not actually got the full loadout all set, so we can just go ahead and stream because we have audio settings to focus on as well. So the good thing is as well with this is that you can actually readjust anything. So I'll show you the mixer. So the mixer is a little bit empty at the moment. You have your desktop audio, and you also have your mic. You do need to alter the settings, unfortunately. It is a bit of a pain, but you don't have to worry about too much about these. So you can go, of course, into the properties, and you can select the device that you're using. I would select my mic, but of course, if I do that, we're going to get a nice, lovely echo. But usually you can pick up your mic regardless of what it is. So of course, for myself, it will be Elgato sound capture. You would throw that in. You can use any device that you do. You just got to look for the mic that you're wanting to use. So if it's an Elgato, it'll show up as Elgato. If it's a Blue Yeti or a Blue Snowball, it should show up on here. Or even if it's a webcam, the webcam mic settings will show up on there as well. So that'll be your audio input. So that is recognizing what is going into your stream. Desktop audio, pretty much a standard as well. So that is just picking up everything that is on there. So it'll pick up each individual monitor, each individual device. So it'll just pick up what is there. And you can also add sources in for additional sound. So if you wanted to, I believe you should be able to add it in per sound. At least with OBS, you would have to do this. But you can, yeah, there you go. It builds in microphones, USB microphones, and other USB devices. So if you have any additional captures that you want to throw in there, you can just put another one in. So for example, audio input, we'll just select that. And it just basically does the same thing. And you can see it down here per name as to what it is. But we'll jump out of that. We don't need that because of course you do have your, oh, there you go, audio. But as long as of course you have a mic and desktop audio, then you should be all very much set. So once you've got those set, it'll come through and you basically have your visual and your audio, and that is pretty much the basics. So yeah,